The project goal was to streamline processes, minimise time spent processing data, eliminate paper-based processing and double-up work, and to integrate data from the various corporate systems and serve it out to the various departments in a format they required. There were 3 core areas we wanted to address. The project needed to provide mobile data collection techniques that did not require intensive post-processing. We needed to provide innovative mobile maintenance management techniques that integrated with Council's existing Conquest asset management system. We wanted to provide a real benefit to Council staff in their day-to-day work and promote integrated asset management principles across the organisation. We needed to encourage the enhancement of Council's asset data, allowing for better management and more informed investment decisions for Council assets. We wanted to deliver cost-effective asset management projects that are delivered in direct response to evidence-based data. And we needed to complete the project goals with limited resources and limited budget. The solution must be automated as much as possible with minimal manual processing involved. The City of Campbelltown utilises a number of corporate systems to assist staff in their individual tasks that ultimately contribute to the successful management of the council assets. Each one of these systems is excellent at carrying out its specialised task. However, in the past, managers have been required to go into each system in order to extract specific information. This can be time-consuming and can lead to inaccurate or out-of-date information being used, or information not being used at all if in a decision-making aspect, if it proved too difficult for the user to find it in the TRIM system. In order to have fully integrated data, all data, attribute and spatial, must be stored on the SQL Server. Microsoft SQL Server 2008 is the first version of SQL Server to have built-in functionality for doing geographical spatial queries. These enhancements to the SQL Server made the project possible. In 2012, we began the process of migrating existing data, including spatial data, to the SQL Server. So we started developing the mobile maintenance management system. In 2012, Council began the maintenance management configuration work in Conquest. Street trees were chosen for the pilot asset class, as this is the most maintenance-driven asset class, averaging around 900 maintenance jobs carried out on trees every month by the 2 tree crews. We already had the street tree data set as the tree crews previously collected work information using the GBM mobile devices. And once the street trees were in Conquest, we worked closely with the tree managers and both tree crews to develop standard defects and standard actions in the Conquest asset management system. I should point out that Council does not have Conquest Mobile, and we were on a very tight budget, which meant we had to develop something in-house that cost next to nothing to implement. Using SQL Server, GeoServer, and JavaScript mapping library, OpenLayers, and HTML5 technology, we were able to develop a new spatial environment capable of serving data over the internet connection onto any device, whilst at the same time ensuring any data was seamlessly integrated back into the one point of truth, the Conquest asset management system. This is what it looks like on the iPad. There are several different work groups on there. The tree officer clicks on the tree maintenance tab, which opens up the correct URL. The geometry and geography data and attribute data are coming directly from the SQL, via a web service. The tree officer can use the locate button to zoom into the tree's location or pull and expand like you would a mobile phone. It's important to zoom in to the tree as much as possible to ensure the officer is logging the defect against the correct tree. When the tree officer clicks on the tree to add a defect, the drop-down list pops up. At the top, there is a button for sending an email to change the tree species request. And this is the email that I get. It tells me the asset ID, the old species, and the new species that needs changing. And all the tree crew needs to do is just click and send the email and put in the new species. To add a work defect, there are 3 headings consisting of defects requiring work. There's tree removals, tree rehabilitation work, and tree inspections. And there are a number of tree defects listed under those headings. The defects list available on the iPad mirrors the standard defects and standard actions configured in Conquest. The defect ID, severity ID, inspection date, inspector, and the tree asset ID are all captured when the officer clicks on the tree and adds a defect. The data is sent over the web service to the SQL database and saved as soon as the tree officer hits the save button. From a blank Excel spreadsheet, I can connect into the database server and export the tree defects out. The spreadsheet already has all the correct field names and correct codes. All that is needed is for the spreadsheet to be saved as a CSV file and uploaded, and upload the defects into Conquest. The standard defect automatically creates a standard action in Conquest. The severity and the type of defect creates the due date for when the work should be completed. Actions can be configured to send automatic email alerts to the responsible officer or team if necessary. And completing the action automatically completes and closes the defect in Conquest. The tree maintenance information has been updated in Conquest and is saved in the SQL database, completing the loop. This has been working very well for over a year, and we believe that Campbelltown City Council are ready to start work in Conquest to include other asset classes. Now onto the capital works process. Campbelltown Council has been utilising the Conquest Asset Management System and Road Surfaces Manager to assist with the management of Council's road assets for a number of years. The system works well and provides Council with a list of assets that have been identified within a certain budget. So just to recap, the asset data is managed and maintained in Conquest. We use RSM to run modelling on our roads data to provide us with a list of roads for capital works projects. And the RSM modelling provides a treatment and an estimated cost based on the modelling unit rates set up in the actions in the knowledge base. Then the engineers inspect each road to ensure that the data is correct, that work is required, and the treatment is correct. If the road is due for reconstruction, then we usually carry out FWD inspections to determine whether the whole pavement segment requires reconstruction or whether we can save money by applying patching to the failed areas and leave the areas where the pavement is still strong. The budget bids are prepared and sent to Council for approval. Once approved, the work commences, the contractors and suppliers are paid, the financial information and the treatment information are captured and recorded in the finance system and in the Conquest asset management system. The end-of-year depreciation process is run in Conquest, and finance are provided with a suite of reports detailing what has happened on the assets the previous year. However, traditionally, the recording of the capital works information was largely a paper-based manual task which required multiple handling of paperwork across several departments. The works list generated from the RSM began life with an asset ID intact, but by the time the list had been copied and manipulated by key stakeholders, the asset IDs had dropped off the list, the from and to information may have changed, or the treatment may have changed. Roads may have been added to the list due to resident requests and pressure from elected members. The FWD testing may indicate that we only needed to do pavement patching rather than a full reconstruction of the pavement. So many things have changed. And also there was the asset pro forma that Brendan would recognise and remember, which was probably the most hated piece of paper in the whole of the council. At the end of all capital projects, each capital works item must be recorded on a pro forma. The pro forma is basically an electronic piece of paper saved to Council's trim document management system. This process enabled Council to capture essential information about the project, from the project managers, and used by finance to update their system, and also used to update the Conquest asset management system. But the format was such that the information could not be collated in a way to enable data imports, nor was it easy to even perform a basic querying or interrogation task on the information captured on the pro formas. This part of the process was particularly difficult for the project managers, as they were required to complete the pro formas sometimes months after a job was finished. They found it hard to remember exactly what had happened. This system was proving too time-consuming and required multiple handling of paperwork across departments. It also produced multiple versions of the capital works information, which is a risk that we may have captured the wrong or incorrect information against an asset. We had to make this easier. So we developed Intramaps Mobile to allow staff to capture important capital works details, including spatial information, easily in the field, and to ensure that there was just one version of the data that everybody could utilise in SQL. The mobile capital works application, we've called it WD, is also provides accurate location information, which is invaluable for all assets, but especially for assets such as stormwater or park assets that cannot be identified by road names or from and to information. It's also easier to accurately identify areas of pavement patching and curb patching using this. The asset attribute data is stored in Conquest and links with the GIS via the asset ID. The Capital Works app helps project managers capture accurate data, for example, where, what, the dimensions, etc. in the field. Previously, the RSM spreadsheet was printed out and taken on a clipboard in the field with a pen, which then had to be written up and retyped to another Excel spreadsheet once back in the office. Numerous copies were made, all sitting on different individuals' PCs, everyone working from a copy of the original spreadsheet. The WD app captures and calculates the capital works cost by picking up the length or area of work and calculating the dimension against the unit rate set up in Conquest for that particular asset type and work. The app also picks up the nearest asset ID. So if the officer is drawing a piece of curb or pavement patching, the query in the app picks up the nearest ID for that particular type. So there's no need for the officer to try and find out what the asset ID is, because the app does it for them. This data is captured from the iPad directly to our SQL database and can then be extracted out into an Excel spreadsheet and used for budgeting purposes. The data is available to finance to record the costs against the capital projects. The actual costs come from the finance system. It will be useful to be able to compare the estimated costs against the actual costs of the project. This will be very useful when reviewing the unit rates. The information, including the asset ID and site location, will be available for updating Conquest with the capital works information. And this system will replace the old pro forma. It's all very good capturing all this information, but now we have to make sure that everybody has access to the information. As long as the data is stored in the SQL Server database, that is the one point of truth, we can access the data in a number of ways. We've written a number of customized SQL reports using SQL reporting services. Here are two specifically written for the tree manager. We also produce a stump report at the end of each month to send to the contractor for removal of stumps over a certain diameter. Asset information can be viewed along with other non-asset information via Intramaps GIS. And it's also very easy to export the data directly from SQL into an Excel spreadsheet. Finally, we use the asset data to write our asset management plans. Campbelltown uses the NAMS Plus website graphs and templates. This whole process can be quite time consuming and it can be a bit of a black box. We've been developing SQL queries and writing SQL reports to pull out specific data for use in the development of the asset management plans. As long as the structure of the data doesn't change, we can run the queries and produce the graphs at any time for a snapshot of the data. I produce a summary report at the end of each financial year to keep track of how the assets are performing. This is also a good way to keep a check on the data. Anomalies or unexpected outputs may indicate that errors have crept into the data, and is a prompt for us to do some extra verification and validation checks to ensure the data is correct.